On this week's episode of the Best of Johnson County podcast, our guest is Todd Bailey, an EOS coach. EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. It is a way to run your business, structure your business, and get better decisions being made by you and your team members. We talk a little bit about what it is, how to implement it, sources of information about EOS, and how EOS and any operating system is critical if you're ever thinking about selling your business, because you have to be able to scale it and repeat it without the original owner to get the most money when you sell it. So listen in and learn about EOS.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Johnson County podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and on today's episode, we have Todd Bailey, who is an EOS implementer right here in Johnston County. And I know you're saying, what is EOS? It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it is a system by which you can run any small business more effectively in scale. I have been doing it, maybe not greatly, but if that's even a word, here in my office, and it's really helped me. I've enjoyed reading the books and meeting other implementers like Todd, and I think you're going to find this really fascinating about things you can do in your small business every day. He's also a certified exit planning expert who can help small business owners who are looking to sell in the next 10 years. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get to that, I want to ask you to follow, or subscribe to this podcast, the Best of Johnson County podcast, wherever you're seeing it, on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, or any of the other social media pages of the Best of Johnson County podcast. The Best of Johnson County podcast comes out every single Monday and has now for over a year. And we've had many great guests, and we have many more great guests to go. So go back and listen to some of our previous episodes. If this is your first time listening, we had Butch Slaughter, Johnson County Commissioner Chairman, Chris Johnson, Johnson County Economic Development Chairman. We had Adrian O'Neill, Johnson County Parks and Rec Director. We've had local tennis Tim Sims, local financial advisor Chris Key. We've had a lot of great guests. We've had the Redneck Barbecue Lab and Mercedes Harris talking about all the great things going on there. So go back and listen to those, and I think you'll find it fascinating, and continue to listen as we're going to continue to bring you great guests like Todd Bailey. Welcome, Todd.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, no problem. So tell the people who you are, what you do.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm a professional EOS implementer, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's simply a comprehensive system of simple tools to help you run your business more effectively, more efficiently, and get more out of the business, get the life the owner wanted out of the business.
Well, there's no doubt about that. So let's talk a little bit about your biography. How did you, this is not your first career doing this EOS stuff. Right. At one point, I think, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I was born in Michigan, about an hour and a half north of Detroit. Spent my childhood in Michigan. My dad got a transfer to Miami, Florida. So I spent my teenage years in Fort Lauderdale. Graduated high school there, small college in Ohio, and spent a bunch of time in Michigan, Ohio before I moved to Johnston County.
Okay, and when did you move to Johnston County?
2000.
So, that's when I got to Johnston County.
Yeah.
We got here at the same time.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Great.
You were a pastor for a long time.
That's what brought me to Johnston County. I went to college for the purpose of studying theology and being a minister. And I landed in Selma, pastored a church in Selma. That's what got me to Johnston County. And actually had the privilege of starting a brand new church here in Johnston County back in 2004 or 5. Still going strong. So
Which church?
It's called Cross Point Community Church on Highway 70, halfway between Clayton and Smithfield.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know where Cross Point is.
Yeah. So I started that church in 2004 and stepped out of the ministry in 2008 to go into business world.
Okay. And then I think when you got into the business world, maybe your first job wasn't a financial advisor. I think you bought a business.
I did. I bought a franchise. It was a printing business, business cards, brochures. So I was living in Selma. The business is in Wilmington. So I was commuting, a lot of windshield time, and learned a few things. I loved being a business owner. I loved my I had 2 or 3 employees, loved my employees. All my my customers were business owners. So I was loving that conversation. And I learned that I hated printing. No offense to printers. I didn't love printing. So I did that for a few years. My brother and I did it together, and we decided we wanted out. So we stepped away from that and became an independent financial advisor.
Okay. And you did that for several years around Cary, I think.
For about 12 years. So I started that in 2012, joined an independent firm in Morrisville. And our big vision was to have 50, 60 financial advisors and 4 or 5 branches all over Wake County. That was our big vision. And we got to about 7, 8 advisors plus staff. And we realized, probably similar to you, if we kept doing it the way we were doing it, we were going to implode. We had no ability to scale and we didn't know what to do. So we were looking for a solution. We found the book Traction by Gino Wickman. He's the one who started EOS. We read the book. We ended up in 17 and 18. We hired an implementer like me to come in and teach us for 2 years how to run our financial firm on EOS. And I absolutely fell in love with it. It spoke my language. I got it, loved it. And we started running our firm on it. In 2019, I left that firm and started my own firm in Cary. Brought some financial advisors, brought in some strategic partners, brought in staff. And the whole 4 years I was with Quest Financial Group, we went from 40 million in assets under management to 80 in assets under management in 4 years. So tremendous growth. All of that I attribute to the efficiencies and effectiveness of EOS. So in end of 22 into 23, my wife and I started talking about the future. And I said, I've got 14, 15 years left before I hang it up. What do I want to do? I don't want to waste my time doing something I don't absolutely love. And out of that conversation, we decided while I really enjoyed financial advising, I just enjoyed EOS so much more. In 23, I sold my financial practice and went all in on helping other business owners implement EOS.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. And I've been fortunate. I read the book Traction as well. I have a business coach, and it was one of the things they recommended as something to consider. And so I read the book Traction maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And it was one of those books it spoke to me. The concepts were tremendous, and there was this organization. And in the book, it's way easier in the book than it is in real life. Right. And I was like, yeah, I could do this, I think, and then I actually went to a presentation with an EOS person like you, implementer in Phoenix, maybe 2 years ago. Okay. And they did a few hours on it, and I started writing out my plan and, getting an ideal and that kind of stuff. So I have slowly but surely doing parts of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it really does make a difference. But for those and then I read the follow-up book, Get a Grip. Yeah. And so anyway, if you're a small business owner out there, Traction and Get a Grip are probably 2 of the 5 best business books I've ever read, along with Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that was written in 1930, that's still very relevant today. Yep. So if you're into that, if you read those 3 books, you're going to be way further ahead. So let's talk about what it is. Other people have heard it. Most people, if you're anybody in business, has heard of EOS now. Traction, best-selling book. Kind of what is it in a nutshell?
Yeah. So a lot of the pain points that we hear from a business owner, and EOS is really designed for businesses with 10 employees and up. So you've got the median business in the EOS universe is about 45 employees with a leadership team of 3, 4, 5 people running the business. And so what we find is one of the pain points is the business owner or the leadership team, they feel like they don't have a sense of control over what's happening under the roof. The business is going 100 miles an hour and they feel like they're always trying to catch up. That's a pain point that EOS is great for. 82% of the people who hire an EOS implementer do so for people issues. We were talking about retention and losing employees coming and going, and EOS is perfect for addressing. If you're having people issues inside your organization, EOS is really the solution for that. Some businesses have cash flow issues. They might be bringing in $3 million, but $3 million is going right out the door 30 days later, and they always feel strapped. EOS is a perfect solution for that type of problem. A business leadership team or owner that they've tried everything. We read this book, we went to this seminar, went to this conference, we've tried it all and nothing seems to be working. EOS can really be the solution for that. So those are the pain points that we often hear. And so what EOS is a system designed to address what we've identified as the 6 key components of any organization. It's vision, people, tracking data, addressing issues in the organization, codifying your processes, and getting traction. Those are the 6 key components. And as a business, if you're able to execute on those 6 key components, you're more effective, you're more efficient, the leadership team is more cohesive, everybody's just having more fun, and you become more profitable.
Well, and that is true. And I have, like I said, I've done a little bit of it, and I've definitely tried to follow the structure. And I think it's important, one of the first things you do if you start studying it is you sort of need to develop a vision of just what are we trying to do here. And when I got into it and when I read the book, I wasn't absolutely sure because we've been very fortunate. We were growing fast. I knew I was trying to help children, but really, how was that into a vision that I could share with the other team members? And we've been working on that, and I think we've got a pretty good one now. So talk about how people develop their vision statement.
Great question. So EOS is a system of tools. So there are about 20 tools in the EOS toolbox. So when you bring in somebody like me as an implementer, we help you implement and execute on EOS so your business is running on EOS. Over the course of the relationship, we're just mastering those 20 tools. The number one tool in that toolbox is called the Vision Traction Organizer, or the VTO for short. Basically, what that is a tool, and if you've read the book Traction, there's a sample of the VTO in the book. Even if you never hire somebody like me, use the VTO in your organization. It is the best tool that you're ever going to discover for your business. But basically, it walks you through 8 questions. And the first question is your core values, and then your core focus. And the third question is, what is your 10-year target? So what you're doing is you're bringing the leadership team together. And as a team, you're identifying where is our organization, our business going to be 10 years from now? What's the finish line 10 years from now? The value in that is you're getting the whole leadership team to see the same finish line. Because what we find when I step in with leadership teams, when you start the conversation, they're very unified. But as you start breaking it down, sometimes those visions can be slightly different. The COO and the CEO and the CFO, they all have slightly different visions of where we want to end up. So the Vision Traction Organizer brings everybody to the exact same vision. As a leadership team, we're in alignment. We agree on that, and it gets everybody rowing in the same direction. So the VTO is a great tool to help the leadership team sniff out what they should be doing.
Well, and then you can also use that to help you in hiring,
Absolutely.
And you're talking about, you have these sort of core values. And then as you are interviewing candidates, or even if you're writing ads, I now write my ads with some of the values in it to try to attract people that are interested in one of ours is being heroic, trying to get our marketing here is be the hero of your life story, right? So, I mean, it's all together, right? Like we want heroic individuals and heroic employees working for our clients who we want to see be heroes in their own life, even though their relationship may not be working out. So talk a little bit about that sort of, because I have really used that a lot. And I might not write it down, but I definitely have it in my head, sort of the right seat, right person, right value matrix as you go to decide to hire somebody.
Yeah, it's great. So there are multiple tools that you just illustrated. The first one is the Vision Traction or the VTO. So you're identifying what are the core values, when I implement with a team, I'm guiding the leadership team, I'm facilitating and coaching for them to figure out what their core values are. They aren't aspirational, this is who we want to be. Our core values, this is who we are, this is our culture. Then utilizing those core values, like you're using them perfectly, using them in your hiring, firing, staff reviews, everything gets measured against your core values. So you're bringing in the people who are attracted to that. You're repelling the people who are not attracted to that because you're using your core values to hire and fire and review. There's also a tool, you talked about right people, right seats, which is Jim Collins' terminology from the book Good to Great. EOS just adopted that as the terminology. The right people, we have a tool called the People Analyzer, which is probably what you're referring to. It's a beautiful tool, super simple tool to help you figure out, do we have the right people on the bus, the right people in our organization? The other tool for the right seats is what we call the accountability chart, which some people may say that looks like an organizational chart. An org chart is not. An accountability chart is different. So we create the accountability chart. We figure out what are the right seats in our organization for the next 12 months? Where do we need to go? And then we make sure we got the right people in the right seats executing on that vision. So it all works together.
Well, and one of the things you have to ask yourself, whether you're working with somebody like Todd Bailey or not, is, okay, what do I need each seat to do?
Yes.
And then you really need to talk about, you need and this was hard for me, but every job needs sort of a standard operating procedure and needs a KPI, key performance indicator, and every job you need to kind of know what skill sets would be good in that job. And then you have to look and say, okay, who do I need to hire? And if somebody's already there, do they have this skill set? Is this something they excel at?
Right.
Is this something they enjoy? Would they be better in a different role than the role they're in? Because if they're in a role that doesn't fit them, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be looking to go out the door. They're going to be stressed. They're going to be hard to work with. And that nobody wins in that scenario.
Well, what we find, because like I said, 82% of the businesses that bring somebody like me in, it's for people issues. They're having people challenges and they don't know how to solve it. So when I teach them how to use the people analyzer tool and the accountability chart, that surfaces a couple of issues. One is you could have the right person in the wrong seat, which is kind of what you're describing. Culturally, core values, this person belongs in my organization, but they can't execute on the job for whatever reason. And so maybe I need to find a different job for them. You'll also find that you might have the wrong person in the right seat. What that means is you got a person who's really, really good at their job. They're good at finance, they're good at payroll, they're good at whatever they do, but they don't fit culturally. They're a cancer inside the organization. They're disruptive. They're at the water cooler saying things they shouldn't be saying. So they're really good at their job, but they don't belong here. And so it helps you identify, if I got the right person in the wrong seat, maybe I can find a good seat. If I've got the right person, I got the person in a good seat, but they're the wrong person, they've got to go. It helps you identify all of that.
Well, and that's the hardest thing for a business owner. That's been the hardest thing for me, is you have an employee who's a good lawyer, but they are a little bit of a cancer. But they're producing, clients like, like to the outward world, it's fine. But inward world, they're causing problems. And then I've had people like that cost me other people that I did not want to lose because they didn't want to work with that person anymore. The sort of the underlying stress and anxiety of having this person, in the office. And so, A players kind of want to be with A players. A players don't want to be hanging out with C players. Right. And not everybody can be an A player, but a C player can make an A player uncomfortable and the A player leave. And that has happened to me more than once.
Yeah, 100%. And utilizing the EOS tools can really help you solve those issues. Really can.
Right.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
And if you're the owner of a small business, you're listening to this, any employee can be replaced except for you because it's your business.
That's right.
And if you get big enough, you can actually start to exit out of your business and become an investor where you're not there every day, or you can sell it. So let's talk a little bit about how you help people do that.
Yeah. So I had the privilege of exiting out of my business. And so I had a financial practice, a book of business. I had a group of clients, and exiting was, any business owner spends 10, 15, 30, 40 years building their business. They learned, I know how to build my business. I know how to do my marketing. I know how to do this and that. I'm going to grow. 99% of business owners have no idea how to get out of their business. They just don't know what it looks like. They've never done it. They're going to do it once. They're never going to do it again. So they want to be experts, but they don't know what to do. So what I do as a certified exit planning advisor, a CEPA, is I come alongside the business owner 3, 5, 7 years in advance. We figure out, how much do you need what is it worth? What do you need for the business to retire the lifestyle you want? So if it's worth $3 million, you need it worth $5 million. And we've got 5 years, let's get from $3 million to $5 million over the next 5 years. I walk them through that journey. If they're already running on EOS, that's great. If they're not running on EOS, EOS is probably going to be part of that journey, because we found in the EOS universe that you can increase the multiple of your business by 1x to 2x if your business is running on EOS. It's more valuable, it's more profitable to the buyer. The reason for that is because if the buyer is looking at the business, is it owner dependent? If it's running on EOS, that communicates to the buyer, this business doesn't depend on the owner to run. It makes it more profitable. So as I guide business owners through the exiting journey, EOS is typically part of that conversation because it brings more value. You get more bang for your buck. So I guide them through that process.
Well, and the first part of that process is the book's got to be right. I mean, if your bookkeeping is not right and you're not paying your taxes like you're supposed to,
Right.
and you're putting cash in your pocket, and you're paying every personal expense you've got through the business, and you just haven't been audited, that's not going to work in a sales situation. And I know
100%.
you have to have that hard conversation with a lot of people.
Yeah. There's a lot of organizational things. So when you start that exit planning conversation, in a perfect world, it starts more than 2 years out. 5, 6, 7, 8 years is even better. And there's multiple reasons for that. But we do what we call a triggering event at the beginning. That's getting a valuation compared to other businesses, apples to apples to what I do. So if I've got a HVAC company with 30 employees, how do I stack up against other HVAC companies with 30 employees who are apples to apples like me? So I might be a $3 million business, but we call it the best in class. Might be a $5 million HVAC business. So you have the potential to be a $5 million, but there's things you're not doing the company is doing. So that triggering event identifies all that to figure out what can we do over the next 3 to 5 years to get you to the best in class in your industry. We come out of it with a 21-point action plan, and then I just walk the journey with them. We create what we call 90-day sprints with the owner, where we say, let's do these 1 or 2 goals for the next 90 days. And we just do that journey for as long as we need to get that business from 3 million to 5 million. And we're on the business side, we're implementing EOS simultaneously.
Right. And that's great. The other thing EOS can help you do, other than get ready to sell it, it can allow you to move to what I would call an investor level in your business, where you still own it, but you're not there every day.
Right.
You might be there 4 or 5 hours a week. And I know the book 4-Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss, whatever. Yeah. It's a good book. I think the title makes it sound like you can be Tim Ferriss and work 4 hours a week. Yeah. So the title is catchy, and he sold a lot of books, but he works a whole lot more than 4 hours a week. Tim Ferriss works a lot. He's a hardworking person. He's got a great podcast. Yeah. So I don't want people to think, I can work 4 hours a week and be Tim Ferriss. But I'm saying you can, if you have your systems in place, and your systems are running your business, then you, the owner, don't have to run your business. You can sort of hire somebody sort of to be the CEO or CFO of your business, and you can go do something else, and you can check in literally 3 or 4 hours a week and still make money. But you're going to have something like EOS to do that.
And what we call that, we say, as the owner, you've been running this HVAC company for 15, 20 years, we're going to start moving you to the owner's box. We call it, let's put you in the owner's box so you can do what you're describing. You're not really in the day-to-day operations anymore. We've got other people doing that, and that's what's attractive to a buyer. It's not owner dependent. And you start getting to live what we call the EOS life. There's a whole book written called the EOS life, which means you start living the life you always wanted to live, which is why you started the business in the first place. You wanted to live a certain type of life. Moving to the owner's box, getting you out of the day-to-day, is exactly how you live the EOS life.
Well, and you then have the freedom of time.
That's right.
Because you don't have to be there 40 hours
to pursue
a week,
other passions,
to do other stuff.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do all kinds of things. I've seen people start other businesses.
Yep.
I've seen people travel. I've seen people become speakers. I've got friends who started writing books about their business journey. And it really is fascinating.
You're involved in Rotary, and you don't have the time. You go to the weekly meetings. You might volunteer to help with the playground down the street at the elementary school. But when you get into the owner's box, then you got time to go to Africa for a couple of weeks and do Rotary stuff, to your point.
Right. There's no doubt. And, another version, you call it the owner's box. Some of the business books out there talk about 4 levels of ownership. Mm-hmm. Level 1, it's you and you're doing everything. Mm-hmm. Level 2, it's you and a few employees, but you're still doing the vast majority of the work of the business, whatever output is coming out. If that's HVAC, you're still running service calls or whatever. Level 3 allows you to get to sort of you maybe have some mid-level management, but you're still there every day, but you're not having to run the service calls, or, I don't really do a lot of consults here anymore. I have people to do that, but yet I'm still here. And then level 4 is you've sort of ascended out of the business into what you would call the owner's box, and you have people doing everything underneath you. Now you have to grow to be able to have the revenue to allow you to pay these people to replace yourself, because they're not going to work for free. And good managers are going to cost you 6 figures in most of these small businesses, but you can get there if you have a system and a plan.
Well, that's where we find that if you want to be in that owner's box, you want to be on that 4th level, as you described it, you can get there. And it actually doesn't take as long as what most owners think it will take, primarily because when you start running on EOS, you become more efficient, you become more effective. So you're getting time back, and that frees up financial resources inside the organization to expand the business. So you can get there faster than you think you can if you're running efficiently.
Well, because the main thing is you have to work on the business, not in the business. And I think that is one thing where small business owners really get confused, because they're so busy doing the work, whatever it is. They're the chief bottle washer. They are doing the work, that they're not thinking about these bigger visions, the core values, the organizational structures. We're not going to have time today to get into the rocks and how you figure out what the issue is and whose job it is to solve it, and their responsibility for bringing it back. You push the rock up the hill. I mean, it would take us an hour and a half to do that podcast. But I think that's where people happen, and they don't get a chance to step back and look at it, because they're just doing the work every day.
And the biggest hurdle that I run into, because I talk to a lot of business owners that fit in that 10, 20, 30, 50 employee space, is that we're just so busy. I'd love to talk to you, Todd. I love the idea. I love the concept. We're so busy. And my question is, if we don't engage, what will look different 12 months from now? And essentially the answer is we'll be in the same boat 12 months from now we are now, because I don't have time to work on the business. The reality is, if you don't take the time to work on the business, you're never going to move on.
Well, and my business coach always said, when you start out, you do the work 9 to 5 and make your fortune 5 to 9. When you actually work on the business. So that's what Richard James says. So anyway, how can people get in touch with you?
So my cell phone number is the easiest, 919-518-7728. My website is eosworldwide.com/Todd Bailey.
All right. That sounds good.
And LinkedIn is great too.
All right.
All that stuff is on LinkedIn.
Right. And he goes to tons of chamber events. If you go to any chamber events around here, you're going to see Todd. He's greatly involved in the community. So the last question we ask everybody is, what do you love most about Johnston County?
Well, I've lived here 25 years. I started in Selma and kind of migrated toward Clayton, and I live in Riverwood and Clayton now. I love the culture. It's what brought me here. It's what kept me here. All 5 of our kids were raised in Johnston County. They went to Cleveland High School, Corinth Holders High School, graduated. Most of them still live in Johnston County. It's the culture. I just love everything about the culture. I love being close to Raleigh, but not too close. The culture in Johnston County is just, I love it. I just love it.
It's great. It's great. I love the culture here. I love the people.
Yeah.
I love being close to Raleigh, but not in Raleigh,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to thank Todd Bailey for coming on to this episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast. We would like to remind you to like, follow, subscribe to this podcast. And if you wouldn't mind sharing it in your Instagram stories and tag the Best of Johnston County podcast, it will help us grow. Like I said, this is really, if you're a small business owner, EOS is a tremendous operating system. Even if you don't hire an implementer, read the book Traction, read the book Get a Grip, go back and read the book Think and Grow Rich, about just sort of the mindset of growing a business. They all have been instrumental to me. They've been instrumental to Todd, and it can be instrumental to you too as you continue to grow and move forward. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.